Hello there, guys, and welcome back to my channel for a very last minute stream that wasn't exactly planned, but then the news came out and I was like, well, I'm kind of free, so might as well. So I got the boys together and here we are to talk about shit. And I'm excited. Not excited about the news, but excited to just have a bit of a chit chat with the boys, really. So, boys, thank you for coming. Charlie, it's been a minute, I feel like, since you were last on. I was on your channel the other week. But what's happening? I mean, the other day we lost 4-0 to Arsenal. And now, as if things can't get worse, we were embarrassed by Barcelona for a second time this bloody transfer window. I cannot handle it anymore. I can't lie. Like, I'm absolutely livid. But are you fuming, or have you found yourself a way to, I don't know, explain it to yourself so we're still okay? Because I need someone to give me reasons to be okay.
No, it's just, mate, first of all, thanks for having me as always. It's frustrating, really. It's more the fact that, we've only got ourselves to blame on this one, because it's not like, we could, Kounde was like a bonus target and it would have been great to get him, but we miss out. It's not a disaster. We are desperate for centre-backs. And for me, we've only got ourselves to blame for two reasons. First reason, Kounde should have already been a Chelsea player last season. That should have been done. We pissed about then. Then we go into this season. Obviously, Kounde still a target. And then it sort of transpires that, is it more of a Marina/club target? And then Kounde will see, obviously, that suddenly he's like a third or fourth choice target, because he ended up behind De Ligt, behind Nathan Ake, and behind Koulibaly. We got Koulibaly done, which is great. Couldn't get De Ligt done because he preferred Bayern, and City, they wanted too much for Nathan Ake, so we walked away. And so in our desperation, we're like, shit, we need someone. We come running back to Kounde, and you can understand why he would be slightly pissed at us. So like that's irritated as well. But I think the most annoying thing is that, we seem to, I guess that as a club, we kind of lack a bit of pull when even going up against Barcelona in their current sort of ways that they are, the struggle. Like, Barcelona is a big club historically. And I think when players are faced with a choice of playing for Chelsea or playing for Barcelona, Real Madrid, maybe even Bayern Munich in that group as well, 9 times out of 10, we're going to lose out to those clubs, as would a lot of other clubs. So for me, it's more frustrating because of how desperate we are, and the fact that I think Pice tweeted it the other day, we're about 12 or 13 days away from Everton, and we still haven't replaced the 2 centre-backs we lost and the 2 centre-backs we knew we were losing for months before the window even opened. So for me, that's really frustrating. I don't really know why this, I don't know the real reasons why this has happened. It's one of those where Kounde, for sure, obviously prefers Barca, that's the reason that we haven't received that green light from Sevilla. We've been waiting since Thursday. I think it's obvious that Kounde, all right, he's happy to join Chelsea, but his preference is Barca, so he wants to wait and see what they do, and then he might just fall back on us.
I'm not
that
even sure whether we should buy this that he was happy to join Chelsea, because if he was happy to join Chelsea, how long are you willing to wait for someone? Because until today or yesterday or whatever, Barcelona hadn't even actually approached Sevilla. They might have been talking to him, but they hadn't, and they still haven't registered Lewandowski and all these signings that they've made. I think Christensen and somebody else they did.
Kessie, they've been registered.
They haven't even registered yet.
No, but I think Xavi's called him. He's obviously he's happy to join there, but from a Sevilla perspective as well. We know Monchi's difficult to deal with, but you want to entice a bidding war. A bidding war only works if the other club or clubs that are interested are going to bid more than the current bid that is potentially on the table. So a bidding war doesn't work if you're enticing lower bids. So that doesn't make sense. Sevilla want to get as much money as they can for their star player. So it makes no sense for them to accept a lower bid. It also makes no sense for them to sort of wait around, because they've already lost Diego Carlos to Aston Villa. If they're going to lose Jules Kounde as well, by them waiting around for Barcelona, they're doing themselves a disservice as well, because they're giving themselves less time to get replacement centre-backs in that they desperately need as well. And they're going to lose basically their first choice defensive partnership. So from all aspects, it doesn't make any sense. But I think it just goes to show that, I don't know if it's obviously a different conversation, but I don't know if maybe Tuchel lacks a bit of pull. I do wonder, it's obviously we're never going to know because it's a hypothetical situation, but I do wonder if, like a Mourinho was in charge, or Mourinho phoned up Jules Kounde. You know, when that phone's going down, he's joining the club. I'm not saying that, you know, I just think Jose's got a bit more about him in conference. I think he's a bit more convincing. Like in that, I'm not saying that Tuchel, you know, can't convince players, but I just think
maybe Tuchel is a bit too honest when he talks to players.
Yeah,
like he
maybe
tries to call a new player, convince him to join. You're like, yeah, well, if you train well enough, then you will play and stuff. Rather than like, yeah, you're my guaranteed start. Even if they're not, it doesn't matter. Just tell them what they need to hear.
Yeah, well, this is it. I think, I would agree on that, but it's just frustrating because, as I said, we're just so desperate for a centre back, and we've got so much other work we need to do as well. And then you hear, you know, we tried to last minute, I think on Saturday or Sunday, tried to hijack Mukulele, I think is the Leipzig defender, hijack that move to PSG. Obviously, it was too far down the line. It was done. He was going there. It sort of shows that, I don't know if we're not really sure what we're doing at the moment. You know, Tuchel's saying he wants a left-footed centre-back, and yet we're just looking at right-sided centre-backs, like the likes of Skriniar, the likes of, we tried to hijack Mukulele. It's just a little bit all over the place. But at the end of the day, mate, for me, we've only got ourselves to blame. And it's a difficult one. It is a difficult one to take because we wasted so much time on it. Like we should have been like, you know, in in other negotiations whilst waiting for this. We shouldn't just be waiting and doing fuck all, because now we're in a situation where other targets, Skriniar is going to cost us 65, 70 million euros. He would probably prefer to go to PSG. We've got Kimpembe, who we could offer the money for, but his preference is to stay there anyway. So there's no guarantee that those two players would even want to come anyway. So then what do we do?
Well, they can't both be satisfied, right? Because am I not right in saying that PSG only will buy Skriniar if they sell Kimpembe price?
Maybe. I'm not really sure.
That's what I thought was the case.
Maybe, but then if we're then going to pay, say, 65, 70 million euros for Skriniar, why didn't we just offer the full release clause to Kounde and just get it done? Because that way they have to accept that bid.
How much more was the release clause?
I don't know if the release. I'm not.
Oh, the release clause. The release clause for Kounde is 68 million pounds. So it's a lot.
Euros
more.
Or pounds?
No,
it's
pounds.
Another 13
pounds. It's about 12, 13 million. Yeah,
it's a weird one, man. Like, you know,
even for me, I'm a big fan of. I was a big fan of Kounde, but you know, like even for me, when I always said, nah, don't play the release clause. Like for me, 50 million was more than enough. Like 68, nah, get out of it. That's ridiculous. So I can understand why we didn't do that.
It is ridiculous. Now, just because I've already had someone have a go at me for titling it, embarrassed again, and blah blah blah. When I say embarrassed again, I'm not even trying to have a go at Todd Boehly here. I mean, myself and Pies had a bit of a back and forth in our group chat earlier. But I'm not even trying to say, Boehly's like all sorts of to blame. Like maybe Boehly could have done certain things better, but it's totally understandable that he's not perfect at this job yet. Of course not. He started it a month ago. Of course he's not going to be perfect at it. It's absolutely justified. No one that starts a job a month ago ever in their life, essentially. Like as much as, you know, he's done things in sports, it's not football, you know. Like he probably thinks American sports is huge, you know. Give him a year and he would realize what football actually is. Do you know what I mean? So it's understandable, but we have let it come to situations that just shouldn't happen. Like Charlie said, either get it done last year or in June, because I know the new ownership was coming through, but I'm sure if we really tried, we could have gotten it done. The problem was that actually Thomas Tuchel wasn't that big a fan of him. And apparently has some sort of reservations, like, is he too short? But he apparently is really interested in Nathan Ake, who is the same height. So that makes no sense. Or like 1 centimeter taller, flipping brilliant. Do you know what I mean? But what I think so silly here is once you've got like, hear out what's happening in the world, like read the room essentially, and the room is football, right? I mean, I was saying this to Pies, we shouldn't have ever even gone for Rafinha because, I mean, Edu, the director of football kind of thing from Arsenal, he literally said in an interview, the whole world knew that he only wanted Barcelona, so he didn't even bother. Well, the whole world except Todd Boehly and Thomas Tuchel, apparently, because we still went for it, which I still don't understand. Now, Jules Kounde is a bit of a different situation because obviously we had done the build-up work with him last year and then again and blah, blah, blah. But if you're not going to go for it, like Charlie said, if you're going to let him wait, of course, at some point, he's going to make you wait. Now, it's a whole different debate to talk about Sevilla, who are absolute pricks, because why would you agree to sell for less money to a direct rival? Like, that is so weird. And let's get to another topic of discussion before I take it to Pies and Clutch. Charlie's 100% right. And he says, yeah, Barcelona, Real Madrid, maybe Bayern Munich, they're the biggest clubs. Include Man United in that, but they're same league, so then it becomes a bit of a different, discussion. But Barcelona is not that Barcelona. Barcelona don't have the money to register players. Barcelona owe their current players so much money. Like what? PK, they owe 30 million. De Jong, they owe 17 million, and they're trying to push him out as much as they can. They're telling him, if you want to stay, halve your wages. Like, that's mental stuff. And Busquets, they owe 15 million as well. Why would any player in their right mind, especially one being so young, go to that team? That's the part I don't understand. Like, are footballers as stupid as the stereotype says, and they just don't comprehend what's happening? Or, what do Barcelona tell them to convince them? Because that's the part I want to know. Because the whole world seems to be pretty convinced that in the next 5 years, Barcelona, chances are they won't even exist anymore. Like, with the whole recession in the world, even Spain or Barcelona as a city or Catalonia as a state can't save them, because the recession in Europe and the world is so bad. No one just can't just save dying football clubs. No one has time, money, and anything for that. So I just can't understand how it happens. And the embarrassed part is because we stayed in there for too long. Mate, once the guy Kounde set foot on that plane to Portugal, to Sevilla's preseason game that he didn't even take part in, once he set foot on that plane, that was the very, very, very latest point that offer should have been pulled immediately. Like, he should have pulled it arguably even earlier. But that was the very latest moment that offer should have been pulled, because, we played games with you, but we're the big dog here. We're the football club. He's just the one player. And, he's a good player, but he's a 23-year-old player that hasn't played at a higher level than Sevilla. We're not talking about Lionel Messi here, right? Like, we're the big dog in this conversation between Chelsea and Kounde, leaving Barca out of it, right? We shouldn't let him play with us. I know we played with him, but it's not like eye for an eye. We just need to make sure that they don't play with us back. Like, I mean, it's just silly. But I will say one last thing. While they have all said we've pulled the plug on the deal and we're going to look at other centre-backs now, I personally wouldn't be surprised if Barcelona actually can't fork out the money. Sevilla is like, actually, we would like a bit more now. And then Barcelona can't afford him, and give it 3 weeks' time and we might be back in for Kounde. That's just me thinking of things. There's no evidence of this, but I feel like wouldn't be surprised if that happens. Now, Pies, first Charlie was talking. Now I held the whole monologue 15 minutes in and I haven't even let you boys talk. But Pies, number one, what do you think of that theory I just pulled out at the end there? Do you think there is a small chance that that could happen, that in the end Barcelona don't actually pay enough for Sevilla? Because that's what Sevilla are known for. Like, why would Sevilla just accept less money? Do you know what I mean? And then it could be back on in a few weeks. But this way, at least we're a little bit less embarrassed, right? If we do it again in 3 weeks, this is a whole different situation. If we look at other centre-backs first and we kind of leave them alone for a bit, that would make more, I don't know, I'd feel less ashamed about what we're doing here. But I could obviously be completely wrong.
Yeah, mate, to be honest, all of this doesn't really make much sense, especially, like, as you said, when you factor in the amount that Barcelona are probably going to pay. Like, Fabrizio Romano was saying, well, they're not going to match Chelsea's 55 million bid. They're going to do it in different payment terms, in different structure to Chelsea. Why on earth does any of that matter? Unless Chelsea have offered poor payment terms or, offered in ridiculous installments. Because we mustn't forget, although we did want to pay up front heavy for Rafinha, it could still be different for the Kounde deal. We could still be offering a lot of installments, because most big transfers are in installments. So perhaps the payment terms weren't as good as we weren't as good as we thought, and maybe that's why Sevilla and Kounde have given the green light. But as Charlie said, clear as day, he's waiting for Barcelona. And fair enough, I said this a couple of weeks ago, this could happen. I do put a bit of blame on Tuchel for this, because you can't really go for Ake, De Ligt, Kimpembe, and then decide, oh, you know what, let's go for Kounde, and let's expect that he's still going to want to join us. Like, players talk, agents talk, the news gets out there. These are human beings as well. They understand what's going on in the football world, especially when he thought he was going to join Chelsea. Like, he's going to be watching what Chelsea are doing. So I don't, as much as I'm a bit salty that he's choosing Barcelona, like, he was ready to choose Chelsea for the last year and a half. So, you know what I mean? Like, it's a bit ridiculous, to be honest.
Was he only ready to do that because Barcelona weren't interested yet?
That is another thing I did say as well. I was going to come on to that. Maybe it was just because no one else was really in for him. But at the same time, like, I just don't understand from a financial point of view. I said this the other day. Monchi has never, ever, ever settled for anything less than absolute top dollar as well, because Sevilla owe 25 or 20% of the sale to Bordeaux. So how are you going to tell me that Sevilla's director, who's notoriously a difficult businessman anyway, has this 25 or 20% on top of him as well, and then is going to accept the lower bid than Chelsea's? It's ridiculous. It makes absolutely no sense. If they get Kounde for 40, 45 million, it's ridiculous. It's absolutely out of this world. I don't know what is going on. Even for the Rafinha deal, Fabrizio Romano was like, well, the whole footballing world doesn't really know where Barcelona's got this money from. I read an article the other day from The Athletic, the Spanish writer, one of the best outlets in the world in terms of like background details and stuff. They said this second lever, they couldn't do anything. This second lever was for sorting out wages and things like that. What? And now they're bidding for Jules Kounde. Like, what? None of this makes any sense. Like, I'd love to know what sort of dodgy
exactly
shit is going on in their offices.
It's why I was like, you never know. Maybe in 2, 3, 4 weeks' time.
But I don't think so, because with us now, like, it's clearly been made clear to us today that, look, we're going to move on to other targets now.
I agree, but what if we don't get those? That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, the next couple of hours, fucking days is going to be interesting. Like, I want to see what Barca bid, because I can't, if Monchi accepts it, like, how it doesn't compute in my brain. I'm just a normal Chelsea fan. So if it doesn't compute in my brain, as a football neutral as well, then how is it going to compute in, one of the best businessmen in the world's brain? Like, I just don't understand it. Like, it makes absolutely no sense for them to accept a lesser bid than Chelsea's, even if it's different structure. They owe money to Bordeaux. Like, what is this nonsense?
But sorry, I think I asked you that in the chat, but I'm not sure if you replied. Do they owe the money, or would they only owe the money once Kounde leaves because of, like, how the teams that have educated, like, footballing education, the players, they always get like a sum later on. And like, whenever any of our youngsters, like whenever De Bruyne or Salah are sold, we get money. Do you know what I mean? Like, is that the kind of money they owe Bordeaux?
Yeah, it's like a sell-on clause. So it's like they get a certain amount of money depending on what the fee is. So what I was reading was the higher the transfer fee, obviously the better for Sevilla. So that's why they want to get them. Yeah, they want to get the maximum amount of money out of it. So I was
apparently not.
Yeah, I was like, this is why it doesn't make sense, bro. I don't understand it. So I don't know. Let's see what happens. I don't know. Like, they wanted 55 million, between 50, 55 million. We put that down on the table, and they've just decided, or Kounde's decided, no, fuck off now. I'm going to wait for Barca. Like, fuck it, it's a joke, honestly. I don't know what more we can do.
No, I agree. And that's why I also disagree with J Lamb's comment here saying Boehly is a bad negotiator. I disagree with that. I don't think Boehly did anything wrong in negotiating. The only thing, in my opinion, that he did wrong, and that's not really his fault, because he needs someone that understands football better to tell him that, which is why I think it would have been ideal. Obviously, that's also not necessary. I mean, we don't know for sure. Did Boehly tell Marina to get gone, or did Marina say, I don't want to stay for this summer? We don't know that. In my opinion, it would have been the best if Marina stayed for the summer and worked together with Boehly. Now, of course, someone like Pice will say, but Marina wants too much control. But on her way out, I'm sure she would have been happy to split control a little bit if she knows she's on the way out in September. Do you know what I mean? And Petr Cech. That's the part I think where Boehly did wrong. Like, he thought, well, they want 55 million, so I'm going to put that down and then it's going to get done. That's what he thought with Leeds and Rafinha. That's what he thought with Kounde and Sevilla. And it didn't happen because, in my opinion, he underestimated the pull that clubs like Barcelona, Real Madrid have. And that's what went wrong. Like, it's just, we didn't, in my opinion, the background checks is what failed us, because we should have just known that we're not going to get them once Barcelona were interested. Now, okay, maybe Boehly was told by other financial experts, Barcelona can't afford these things. Like, don't worry, you can just go for it. It's going to be fine. Maybe that was the case. Who knows? But then he was clearly misinformed, because Barcelona somehow seemed to be finding ways. Now, it might ruin them in 5 years, but right now, they seem to be finding ways. Clutch, let me finally get to you. My apologies for taking so long. What's your opinion on the whole matter? Do you think we've been embarrassed here? Do you think, and if so, what do you think is the embarrassing part? Like, is it just leaving the bid in for too long? Is it bidding in the first place? Is it not making our minds up on, first we want Tuchel, first we want Kounde, then Tuchel doesn't, so then we look at other players, and then we're back in for him. Is that, like, what's the big no-no in your head?
I think the last part you just said, where we where we didn't want him at first. Well, at least Tuchel didn't want him at first. And then we go back to him. I mean, you just can't do that. That's probably the part that embarrasses us the most. I mean, that's like us going to 3 different women and then getting rejected by those 3 women, but we go back to the woman who did like us at the end of the day. But because we didn't get the other 3 women in the first place. Like, that other woman's going to move on. She knows that you went after the other 3 women, so why are you still going to go do it? You're embarrassing yourself at that point. You should be...
See, if you're smart, the woman don't find out that you went after the other women.
I do not support this claim. I do not support anything that's being said right now.
No, only before you've been official, of course. People don't cheat, but, before things are official.
Yeah, but I think I said this yesterday. Like, because everything that kept coming out is Kounde's waiting for Barcelona. He's pushing more towards that, like, especially when the reports were Barcelona told him to get on that plane and we'll bid for you later. Like you said, the moment that that's happened and we started learning about that, we should have been gone. We should have been like, oh, okay, well, fair enough. Like, at the same time, we did cause our own trouble, but we can't wait around. I mean, Kounde's a good player, but he's not the player that's going to make us cry over sleep tonight. Like, that's just not how we can do this. We need to go figure out other targets and figure out other things.
Yeah, I mean, you're not right. You made that kind of go analogy. I was going to make that earlier as well, where I'm like, not directly like you, but I was like, well, think about, I don't know, uni, school, whatever, and you're like kind of interested in the hottest girl about. But you're also aware that, the guy's hotter than you or richer than you with like the rich family is also interested in the girl. Well, then have some self-awareness and no, don't go for that one. Go for another one. Do you know what I mean? And that's the part I think Chelsea got wrong. We should have just clocked the fact that we're not beating Barcelona here. Like, maybe it was difficult to clock, but
do you not think though, like, we're trying to, I know, like, it's embarrassing that we're going to lose out to him, but do you not think by pulling out so early it makes us seem a little bit more weak? Because if we don't stick in there, it's like, well, they don't see us as competitive suitors for the players. So I think there's that side of it as well. Like, if we're just going to go in for a transfer with Barca every time and just, bang, we're out as soon as Barca are in, like that in my opinion makes us seem weak as well. It
depends on how you deal with it, though, wouldn't you say? Because, like, if the day after we move on to another centre-back target, I think it's fine. If we then sit around and don't sign a centre-back, I agree with you. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, just thinking from like the opposite perspective, why he might have stayed in longer. I don't know. Like, I just...
I think...
Alex, you're an expert. Calm your horses, lad. Okay, calm your horses when about that. We're not ready to joke around here. Okay, it's a bit soon. But let me just read out the super chat here by Rodrigo. Hate to say, but Kounde is going to Barca for less. Yes, we are aware of this. But even that less, maybe Barca won't be able to turn up with. So that's my theory. I'm not saying I still want Kounde, really. If I'm honest, like, fuck him. But also, fuck us because we caused the situation, like Charlie explained earlier. And let me get to the other super chat, which I haven't reacted to yet. Appreciate you all getting involved with the super chats. Miguel saying Skriniar, Lacroix, and maybe Kilman as viable alternatives. No one Pau Torres, he's bang average. Now, we'll get to targets a little bit later on, but I will keep this started and highlight it again once we get to it, mate. But I want to take this to a little bit of a different discussion first, because all of this that's happening right now, there have now been reports that Thomas Tuchel is actually unhappy and kind of almost overwhelmed, is maybe the better word than unhappy, with having to do all of this, because he's now basically in charge of transfers. Not that he has to negotiate, but he has to convince players because, I mean, how's Boehly going to convince them, right? So Tuchel has to convince players. He has to pick the players. Now that we keep failing on getting players, he needs to then pick new players. And he has to train a team that's absolute dog shit, which we are at the moment are. I mean, look at our game against Arsenal. We were absolutely diabolical. And that kind of preseason performance probably doesn't help in attracting players, does it? Because you're like, well, Kounde's sat there like, well, I mean, I might be pretty good, but me going there, I won't make them score goals. So what if they don't sign any more attackers? You never know. That might be half of the reason. I would understand from his perspective. I don't want to hear it as a Chelsea fan, but from his perspective, I could kind of hear that. Do you know what I mean? But if Tuchel is unhappy, that's a problem. And a lot of people were super gassed. Tuchel is getting all the power. Tuchel is just getting what he wants. I was not as convinced by this story and as happy about the story as a lot of other people were. I'm not trying to sound a smart ass in hindsight. I was saying this at the time as well. I'm like, are we sure? Like, we know what happened last time we gave managers too much power. We sacked Jose halfway through a season. We were 16th. And we vowed as a football club to never give that much power to a manager again. Now, of course, we have a different ownership, which is why that vow went out the window. But there was a reason why we made that vow in the first place. And let's not pretend like Pep Guardiola and Jurgen Klopp have to deal with the entirety of their transfer, dealings. They don't. They might pick players and say, "Oh, I quite like him." And if we can't get him, I quite like him. But they don't have to convince everyone. They don't have to be their left, right, and centre. And one other big difference between what Klopp is doing and what Liverpool and City are doing compared to us is we need so many players, which means if the manager is fully in charge of it, means way more work for him. There's only 24 hours in the day. How can you make this team better, which really need it, and sign all the players? Like I say, there's only so many hours in the day, which is why, in my opinion, would have been better if Marina stayed. But if she didn't want to stay, shit. But I don't know, find a way. I don't know, because now we don't have a director of football. Tuchel is unhappy having to do all of it, and we're not getting the players. It couldn't be any worse. It quite frankly couldn't be any worse, could it, Charlie? We're making a manager unhappy. We're not getting it done, and our team is bad.
Well, the only way it could have been worse is we haven't bought. Well, yeah, mate. The only way it would have been worse is we bought no signings. At least we have got a couple in the door. But yeah, it's one of them things Tuchel obviously handled the whole takeover business and all that sanctions stuff very well. It was a lot of unnecessary extra scrutiny surrounding him, extra answering all the questions on that because no one else really was speaking up other than Czech. But it's too much responsibility at the end of the day. It's too much. He's got too much other stuff to be thinking about. And maybe I'm not making excuses for which, let's be honest, is a pretty abysmal tour of the US. I'm not making excuses for that, but maybe all this extra responsibility is taking some of his attention away from what he actually needs to be doing, and that's trying to improve the team. So for me, I'm more than happy for him to have to say, look, Todd, I want X, Y, Z player. This is my list of top targets. This is my second choices, and if necessary, this is some third choices as well. Go and explore it.
We're now talking 7th choice centre back by now.
Well, this is the problem, mate. Because now, for me, he should have sent him a list of targets. I don't know how they do it, but I'm happy for him to have control of it. But you don't want him doing everything because it takes away from actually what he's there to do, and that is to train the team and to make the team better and to make the team more competitive, and for us to ultimately start winning domestic trophies, start challenging for the Premier League again, because we haven't done that. That's what we need to do. And by having this extra responsibility, the transfer window is stressful. As fans, we're pissed about it. Imagine what it's like actually, being in there and doing it. And when it's not your responsibility or it's not in your remit. Your remit, as I said, is to improve the team, coach the players and stuff. When your attention's being taken away from that to do other things, I think we're seeing that we are suffering a little bit on the pitch. And we've noticed that he's been a bit more short-tempered in press conferences. I understand why he said what he said, but we're not used to him really kind of lashing out, I suppose, like that. I don't know if it's all just getting maybe a little bit too much for him, and it's kind of coming to a head.
Oh, you haven't seen the old Tuchel, bro.
Well, I mean,
that might be true, but still, in comparison to what he was until now, it's still a big difference.
Yeah, this is nothing compared to old Tuchel.
Yeah, I think it's maybe it is getting a bit much for him, but at the end of the day, I just don't think it's helpful.
It feels like Conte. I can't lie. It feels like Conte over again.
But I think what makes it worse is the fact that we need so many players. That's the problem. If we only needed say one or two, it wouldn't be as bad. But the fact of the matter is that we need we need a bigger rebuild than I think many of us actually thought. I knew we needed to bring a lot of players in and a lot needed to go out, but I think it's the fact that we were delighted that Koulibaly and Sterling got through the door. That kind of that excited us. That sort of made us forget about the task at hand a little bit. But the fact of the matter is now the season's rapidly closing in. As I said, we still haven't replaced the two centre backs we lost. The midfield is kind of all over the place, and the attack is dreadful. And we're running out of time, and we're running out of actual targets that would actually make this any better. So I don't really know where we go from there.
Our system is also dreadful, and Danny makes a fair point here. Now, I would prefer to highlight the super chats only, but this is a good point, so I had to. What are we going to play? Because all the players we look for all suit different things. Like, it makes no sense. All of what we're doing, all of the players we're chasing, they're all different types of players.
We're definitely going to play.
Logic?
We know we're playing a 5 or a 3, whatever you want to refer to. We know we're playing that. That's what they're going to play.
But that's not it, though. Like, there's more to it. You know what I mean? Like, you can't play 3-5-2 and park the bus every day, or you can, play a 3 at the back and be offensive, aggressive, and stuff. But we're not defensive or aggressive, which is shit. Honestly,
we are at the moment. Yeah, we are.
It's a serious problem. And the next thing, to top it off, right? You can react to that as well before I go to Pipe with it. Apparently, now I'm not sure how reliable those reports are. I'm sure Pice will tell us in a minute. There's been reports that I've seen, at least, that now with all of this happening, we're pissed off at Barcelona and now stop negotiating with them for Aspi and Alonso. So, might be well and good that Barca want Aspi and Alonso, but first and foremost, and most importantly, we want to get rid of them. In particular, Alonso, but still. So don't be playing petty now. Give him to them immediately. It's their problem if they can't register him. As long as he's not registered with us anymore, that's their problem, not our problem anymore. They can figure out how to pay his wages when they can't afford it. Not us. Give them to them. I don't care. Immediately, give them. If Barcelona need money so badly, give them, I don't know, £100 for each. We give them. Do you know what I mean? Like, get gone, because that's half the problem we have as well. The problem we have is we don't know who's leaving, which is why, like, because the problem is the players that are leaving are all going to Barcelona, basically, right? Or they're difficult to get rid of. So, and no one knows what Barcelona can and cannot afford, really. So that's why, in my opinion, I'd hope that that's the only reason why we haven't looked at wing-backs properly yet, because we flipping need wing-backs so badly. Like, do you know what I mean? It's all riling me up. Go on.
Mate, it's just like first things first, on Aspi and Alonso, right? I understand where relations with Barca are probably a bit strained, and we're probably pissed at them for what's been happening. But it's not exactly. We're not actually doing ourselves any favours by keeping our players that are surplus to requirements as some sort of punishment to them, to Barca. That's not working. Oh yeah, we'll show you by keeping players that are past it and are not good enough for Chelsea anymore. That's a great way of kind of showing them. What we can do is that to me doesn't make any sense. But for me, mate, the biggest thing that's highlighted in this window is the fact that all the failings, I suppose, or like wrongdoings and mistakes of the previous era and previous windows, it's all now coming home. Like signing the players that aren't good enough, signing them on massive contracts, signing them on big wages. And now, when we're desperate to get rid of these players, we cannot get rid of them because of our approach in the previous windows and in the previous years. We've so basically, again, we've only got ourselves to blame for not being able to get rid of these players because of how we've been run in the past. We've on occasions, yes, we've had to offer bigger wages to entice players, but
mate, we did offer bigger wages to Kounde and we still didn't get him.
No, but this is the problem now. Like, because it's twofold. We're now struggling to sign players we want because we're not as an attractive a proposition as a Barcelona or around. And the problem is, like, when you're a top club like Chelsea are, let's make no mistake about it, like you're gonna be going for similar players to other clubs. These scouting departments or recruitment departments or whatever, they're going to have fairly similar players on the lists to other top clubs. And then when it comes to a kind of a shootout, I suppose, for what you're going to do, we do struggle to attract players, and that's an issue. But the biggest issue for me is that, like, it's not the income, it's the outgoings as well, because no one's left and no one even looks like leaving either.
And the only one that has left was Lukaku, that forced it all through himself.
Yeah. Well, it was. I've long forgotten about him, but yeah, that's the thing. I don't really. I don't want to say we're fucked, but we're not fucked. But like we're heading down the roads to being fucked here because we've got so many players that need to go, and we've got a lot of players we need to bring in. The season's less than 2 weeks away. Even Tuchel himself is saying that he can't guarantee we're going to be ready for the start of the season.
And any of the youth players we could have filled the squad with, we either sold over the last 2 years or we're selling now, which is the next ridiculous thing. Like, we're basically acting as if we had a transfer ban. Ignore Koulibaly and Sterling, right?
Yeah.
Basically, we're in the same shit show as we were when Lampard had the transfer ban. Now, how did we fix that issue at the time? Using youth players. Now, I mean, okay, Ampadu maybe, Gallagher maybe, but is any of them going to be starters? No. Should they be? No. Maybe not either. But I mean, Lampard had to go for it. Tuchel seems more reluctant than ever to play any
But
of them.
it's a complete waste of time. Like the likes of Ross Barkley, Batshuayi, etc. These guys, Alonso, Emerson, or whatever. Like they're not the future. Like even if Gilmore, Vale, etc. These guys like aren't going to be. They've got more of a chance. They've got more of a future at Chelsea than those guys do. So we should have that's why for me it made no sense. We should have done what Conte done. If you're surplus requirements, you're left at home. You're not coming. Sort yourselves out.
If you do that, those players will make sure if they have some sort of ambition in life, they will make sure they get a move.
Yeah, but then we come on to the next issue. All right, we've missed out on Kounde. It seems like okay, but then we're looking at it, mate, and you say I know we'll come on to this shortly, but like people say Kimpembe. Kimpeme's not really that keen to come anyway. He's more than happy to stay at Paris. So then what happens? Look, we tried to hijack Mukiele from Leipzig, and then people say, "Oh, Gvardiol." But then you look at it and think Gvardiol's going to be a lot of money. Plus, Leipzig have just let a centre back go in Mukiele to PSG. Are they going to let another defender go? Like it's.
I think he's
like,
more of a right back, to be fair, bro.
But are they going to let another defender go?
Mukiele plays right back and wing back more than he does centre back.
But are they going to let two defenders go? And then you're saying
after losing Upamecano the season before, Konate the season before.
Yeah, exactly. So are they going to? I think Leipzig are a selling club. It's obvious, but like, there's another problem is that like we're now looking at 4th, 5th, 6th choices down the line. We're getting into territory of hoarding more Deadwood when we're going for like 5th, 6th, 7th
more
choices.
Drinkwater's and Ross Barkley's. That's what I'm saying. It feels like Conte's second summer all over again.
I don't want to be alarmed or anything. We've done 2 really good bits of business, but the problem now is we need more, and it's been a massive
well and good. But if you need 6, then 2 is pointless.
If you're talking about centre backs, I don't agree. I still think there's very good centre backs out there that we could get. I don't think just because we've lost Kounde, it means we're looking at Deadwood now. I think there's
but you have a fair point. But any of them that we're looking at that might be any good are more unrealistic than Kounde ever was. I'm just saying. Like, I'm not saying they're impossible to get, but still more difficult to get than Kounde was if we just did it early enough.
Like, Kimpembe is like, he's obviously a target, but what I'm saying is that, like, we could offer the money, but it's down to him, and he's not that fussed about coming or not. He's more than happy to stay at PSG. There are good centre-backs available, but it's convincing them to come because, I think Skriniar wouldn't be that, he maybe prefers to join PSG. Kimpembe is more than happy to stay at PSG. Like we're struggling then down the line. There are other good centre backs available, but can we actually convince these players to join? That's the big question.
It's a tough one. I want to get to it. J Lam. Now I already speak 2 languages, right? If you turn up with Italian, I might have got the gist of what you're saying there as well. But sorry, I can't do Spanish as well, right? So if you're gonna give it the big one, at least give it a big one in the language that we can understand. Do you know what I mean? do you know what I mean? Dexter with the big super chat, appreciate it very much, and I'll take it to Pice finally with this super chat. The TT Boehly prioritized others over Kounde point is iffy. Wouldn't Boehly have discussed this with Jorge Mendes involved in this deal when they met on 25th of June? Pre-Sterling perhaps worked on it since. How is Jorge Mendes involved in the Kounde deal?
Apparently, there was reports that he was working to move Kounde, but I don't know if that's true because, in my opinion, if that was true,
isn't
then
his
he'd
agent
probably be at Chelsea.
Pepe or something, whatever his name is.
Yeah, but apparently Sevilla I can't remember. I think it was Sevilla. There was something about Mendes dealing with Kounde this summer. I don't know if it was reliable or not. I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm not sure.
Fair enough. But even if he had something to do with it, considering we're not getting Kounde. Even if they had worked on it since, it clearly didn't work out regardless. You know what I mean? So what can I say, Dexter? But Pice, now, because me and Charlie have been going back and forth for so long now, I don't remember what I initially asked Charlie. But now, do you see what in your opinion is the situation now with this unhappy of Tuchel? Number 1, do you believe it? Number 2, can we fix that, or is that only a problem that will automatically solve itself once the transfer window shuts? Like, how do you view that?
I think it's very difficult. I'm not there. I don't know if he's unhappy. I think he's definitely stressed out. I mean, you can tell that. Mm-hmm. I don't know if he's. I mean, when I think of unhappy, I mean I think of really pissed off. Doesn't want to maybe train the team or doesn't want to do the transfers. I definitely think. I mean, he's even said it himself. He said going forward, like I need to be focusing more on the coaching. Like you already give a hint there. I mean, when Boehly gave Tuchel full control, I was happy because I thought Tuchel would like to take that on, would like to try and build the team that he wants. But at the same time, it's proved out, I think, in Boehly's end to be very, very difficult. And I mean, I like Boehly's intent because, like you said, like he's just putting the money down, but perhaps for the wrong players, or for perhaps maybe he's getting, like you said, hints. Oh, don't worry, Barca can't afford Kounde. Just go and put the money down. He's yours. Well, Boehly's then maybe gone and done that, and then we've thought, oh shit, look, Barca have come in now, so it's very difficult. It's quite circumstantial because again, with Rafinha, like I do agree with Rafinha, we definitely shouldn't have waited that long, but perhaps he was the only proper. I mean, I know he said Sterling was the target, but have we got to link to any other wingers yet? Since then, no. So maybe
just
Tuchel
Rafinha, Dembele, and Sterling. One of them we got, the others are Barcelona.
Yeah, so maybe Tuchel really wanted Rafinha. That's why we stayed in so long to see what would happen. But I don't know. I definitely think he's stressed out.
But what I don't like about this, Pies, you can react to that whether you agree with that or not. Like even once we've put in the Rafinha bid, once we knew, okay, it's not happening immediately. Why not? From that second onwards, even if you're still waiting with the bid in there, over you look at other targets. And that's the same with Kounde. Like, once we put the bid in and it didn't immediately get done, I don't like the fact that we're now looking at a centre-back. What if we do it in the last week then? Why weren't we already looking at other centre-backs? Maybe we were. But the report only is about that today.
Yeah, that's something I don't know with the whole time. Like the timing of transfer reports can sometimes be a bit off. Like Fabrizio said, like we're already considering centre back targets now. That was the report today, but that we could have been doing that over the weekend. Like we tried to apparently hijack Mukiele. Well, Tuchel probably would have played in right centre back, so maybe they'd already found out about Kounde on the weekend, and now it's coming out on the on the Monday. I don't know. Like it's. We don't exactly know what's going on behind the scenes and the different timing and stuff, but we've got a rough idea, and it's not looking good. Like one of the comments said, like to me, like Pius, we can't wait around now. Like we've got to decide who the fuck we want and just put the money down. And for me, that's why
we tried that twice and it didn't work.
Yeah, and that's why I'm a little bit more confident that eventually we will get who Tuchel decides on next, because there's only a certain amount of times you can put money down and not get a player. Like, come on. Like, if we put, I think, like you said earlier, yeah, they did want to buy Skriniar, but only if they sold Kimpembe. So Tuchel's got to figure out, like, who does he want a left centre back? Does he want a right centre back? Sort that out today, because by the way, they had a day off today, so I'm hoping he was talking to Boehly today. They're back in training on Tuesday. So hopefully they've sorted it out today, who they want to go next, and just go next, because we've got reports now that we've pulled out the deal. So just go for it. We can't waste any more time. It's the season's come around so quick. I can't believe how quickly it's gone, to be honest with you. It's yeah. I'll let Clutch speak anyway, because he hasn't spoken ages. So yeah.
There you go. By the way, ladies and gentlemen, we have nearly 600 people. A second ago, we had even more, over 600 people watching, which I massively appreciate. Hello, everyone. I hope you're all well. If you're new here, which there's a good chance a fair few of you are, please be sure to subscribe. We're on the road to 15,000 subscribers. We made a good step yesterday, and now we have even more people here. So let's make an even bigger step today. So please hit that big red subscribe. And like I keep saying, if you end up in a few weeks, you're like, oh, this guy annoys me, I'm unsubscribed. You can still do that. It's fine. I'm going to convince you that you want to stick around then. But for now, just subscribe, because otherwise you'll need to be recommended the next stream. What if you're not recommended the next stream? You miss it. So you've got to subscribe now. Hit that big red subscribe. It doesn't cost you any money, not a penny. And barely any time. How many seconds do we have in a day? I mean, plenty. This takes you 2. So just subscribe, smash the like button for me. And we need to, like I say, 600 people here. So we need to get to at least 300 likes. And we haven't even hit 100 yet, I don't think. So go down below and smash that like button for me right now. But Clutch, do you see it as a major concern if Tuchel is unhappy about this? Or do you think because it will probably solve itself when the transfer window ends anyway, it's only a problem for another month, so it shouldn't be the biggest long-lasting problem?
I mean, I sent you that screenshot of what he said about PSG when he was there, how he didn't like being the top guy doing all that. So he doesn't like it, but there has to have been a conversation at some point where Boehly came in and was like, yeah, I'm probably going to need your help on this. And Tuchel was like, well, I guess I'll try it now and see if it's different now. And he's finding out he doesn't like it. So, I mean, am I concerned I am concerned because I can understand not being able to have the time to plan for other things when you have to do all this other work. that is involved with like transfer request or transfers, the type of player you want, what player you want. That tends to take a lot of time, especially when you have literal people whose jobs are to look for players. That's literally somebody's job somewhere. So I can understand all that. And I mean, hopefully by the time the transfer
one of those
is
people
over,
was Petr Cech and he's gone. So
yeah, and I don't even know what happened. Also, we're not getting relegated. Stop saying that.
Hey, you never know. We didn't think that in 2015, and we were 1 point above relegation zone come December. Sorry, November.
Fair enough. But also, my Patriot has ruined the club. I don't know what you mean by that. An American? I'm sorry. Okay, cool. Whatever. Sorry. I don't have any other question for you. But I just... yeah, what was I saying? What was I talking about? Yeah, I think Tuchel does need to have that responsibility lifted off of him a little bit. I do think he needs to be involved.
Now you can't lift it off him.
Yeah, you can't do it now, but hopefully he just sticks it without. He just has to stick it out at this point. Was it a mistake? I mean, that's all hindsight. It doesn't matter. He has the responsibility
this is, by
now.
the way, another reason why it's so important that we get that, or it was important. Now that ship sailed already anyway, to get shit done before the season starts. Because once the season starts, Tuchel has even less time for any of this. Like, it's all well and good that there's another more than a month of the transfer window because it shuts on September 1st. But we start the Premier League on August 6th. So, like, you know, he will have even less time then to think about any of this, let alone actually sort anything out. Like, that's half the problem. But like Mohammed said, smash the like button, ladies and gentlemen. And, I mean, Sanyo has even donated money to tell Pice and Clutch that they should turn their cameras on. Now, unfortunately for Clutch and Pice, they're just not as pretty as Charlie and myself. That's the only reason. Do you know what I mean? So there's nothing you can do about it. Maybe one day. Maybe we'll one day have face reveal by Clutch and Pice. But not now. I do apologize, mate. But I appreciate the donation. Hey, if you donate $200, I will force them. But, you know, until then, probably not. But yeah, I mean, let's take it to the conversation that's equally as necessary. Is what now then? Because now someone in the chat earlier mentioned Bremer. Now, sorry to disappoint you, mate, but he's already gone to Juventus. So he's already out the window, which is the next problem here. Thomas Tuchel apparently wants a left-sided centre-back, but like Charlie touched on earlier, all these centre-backs we were linked with are not left centre-backs. Now, we got Koulibaly in, great, amazing. But Skriniar, not a left-sided centre-back. De Ligt was not a left-sided centre-back. Okay, it was more De Ligt or Koulibaly, so that was kind of a different situation. But still, we were linked to De Ligt and not a left-sided centre-back. Now, we were linked with Ake. That's going to be another interesting one. Will we now go back in for Ake potentially? I don't know. Because, like, no, he's not as good as Kounde, of course not. But Ake's better than no one. So, at some point, we will get desperate. Do you know what I mean? I'd rather Ake than Drinkwater. Do you know? Or someone like Drinkwater. I'd rather Ake than, I don't know. I'd watch us by flipping Harry Maguire. Do you know what I mean? Watch us do that. I mean, Man United fans be booing him even out in Australia. Were they in Australia when that happened? I feel like it was. But who are we linked with? I mean, we touched on Kimpembe. Now, we were already interested in him. Okay, at least he's left-sided and left-footed. So that's a positive. Great. Gvardiol, left-sided and left-footed. Also good. But my hesitance with Gvardiol is that he's basically was made unavailable kind of to buy by RB Leipzig because there's not just us interested. Man City would be interested. Other big clubs would be interested. So that's why I'm a little bit concerned. Even if he were to become available, would we then be the team that wins on him? Because if City get wind of actually he might be available, maybe they might snap up on him. Which, to be fair, might get us Ake for cheaper if they got Gvardiol. The only kind of small trump we might have in the back of our hands is that, according to Sky Sports Germany today, all parties, which means Chelsea, Timo Werner, and RB Leipzig, could be interested in a return of Timo to Leipzig. Now, if that were to happen, and Leipzig obviously don't want to spend too much money because they've already bought a few players, I think, just give them Werner and they give us Gvardiol. Maybe we have to pay some extra because, I mean, Werner is barely worth £2, but maybe we can get that done now. Swap deals never happen in football, so that's a problem. But maybe. Do you reckon it's a chance, and would you be interested in that, Clutch?
Sorry, I was reading chat. What did you ask?
basically, would you be interested in Gvardiol, especially with the Timo Werner swap? Well, I say that. We'd all be interested in that, wouldn't we? But do you think that has any sort of realism to it? And if not, who would be your pick at centre-back target now?
That's a tough one, especially since we want a left-sided one. I mean, who's like the most realistic options? Torres, Gvardiol.
Well, Torres is very realistic.
Kimpembe, I guess.
Buyout clause. So.
What'd you say? What about Torres?
He has a buyout clause, doesn't he, of like £45 million or whatever? So he'd be realistic, but seemingly we're not interested. I'm sure otherwise we would have already signed him if it was that easy to sign him.
Yeah, I can see him being a panic buy if I'm honest with you. But no, I think if you can somehow get Werner into a swap deal with Gvardiol, that's probably the best option we can get because it's two birds, one stone. We got a left-sided center back, left-footed. He's pretty quick, and you get rid of Werner, which is probably like the earliest Christmas present I could ever have.
It's true. It absolutely is.
When's
true.
your birthday, bro? It's already been
2 months.
So an early birthday then.
2 months.
Not Christmas.
Early birthday, there you go. Pice, what's your thoughts on this? Now, I know you'd be a fan of the whole Werner Gvardiol swap deal, but do you think there is even the smallest chance this happens? And if not, who do we then go for? Because to me, the one we've done seemingly the most groundwork on, aside from Ake, seems to be Kimpembe. Now, obviously, maybe the reason we then stopped going for Kimpembe and went for Kounde instead is because we kind of figured out he is not that interested in coming. But what do you think, Pice?
All I'm going to say is, if we want to, I'm sure Todd Boehly is going to try this, I think, anyway, because Tuchel is a big fan of Gvardiol. Obviously, the Werner news, he wants to go. So I'm sure Boehly's going to try it. Just don't waste days on it. Just call him up, offer whatever, offer a price and say, look, Werner, we'll include him in the swap deal. Maybe see if they come back with something and then decide if you're going to do it. But just don't mess around because the whole swap deals with De Ligt, I mean, we wasted like a week and a half there trying to include Pulisic and then Werner. And then apparently we decided, actually, we don't want to include Pulisic. And then Juventus decided, well, actually, we want money. So, just don't mess around. I don't know what Leipzig are like in negotiations, but I mean, no club's simple, really, off the top of my head.
They had to do with Red Bull, so chances are they're pricks.
Right, yeah, so... yeah, that's that. So yeah, I mean, just don't waste time on it. Like as you said, I think there was a few reports that Fabrizio said Kimpembe we wanted to pay like 40 million, and then they wanted 50 to 55. So then, well, apparently we then went to Kounde. So why wouldn't you just pay the same price we put for Kounde for Kimpembe, who Tuchel wanted? Like, no, I don't know. This is why I don't know what reports to leave because none of it is really adding up. Especially, we keep going from right to left to right. It's like, what one do we want? You know what I mean? Like, who do we want here? Like, it just doesn't make sense. It seems a little bit of panic.
I seen a report for 70 for him.
That was
I'm like, Euros.
Yeah, Euros.
Yeah.
So I don't get it. I don't know what we're trying to do and who we're going to get. So. Yeah, Gvardiol would be great because he's left-footed. He's young. He's still a bit raw defensively, but he's very, very good.
This is my favorite one yet. Sorry.
Yeah.
If somehow we can convince Bayern of this, I'm a fan of this one.
No, honestly,
Ben Chilwell is nowhere to be seen. He didn't even play against Arsenal, which is the next concerning thing. But we're not even at that stage yet.
And Davies is a Chelsea fan.
Is he?
He just said today if he would support any club in England, it would be Chelsea.
Yeah, he grew up watching Chelsea.
Well, he's probably a Barca fan and Real Madrid fan as well. Sorry, that's how it goes with these Americans.
Yeah,
he's Canadian.
It's the same thing, continent of America, bro.
I think Canadian. I'm done speaking now.
Canadian, yeah. Go on. Go on, Pi. Sorry, I think you were still saying.
No, yeah, just get Kovacic involved in Gvardiol like Jorginho did for Koulibaly and see what we can do there. But just don't waste time on it. I'm fed up of it. Just choose someone, and if we have to, just activate Torres' release clause because he's a left centre back. So, he's young, he's in the same mould, he's really good on the ball. So just do something because we can't. Yeah, we got other areas like you said to do. We're all moaning about the attack. Tuchel's moaning about the attack. We need wing backs. We need to look at midfield still. I think Simon Johnson said today as well. He was on Talk Sport. He said Gallagher's future might still be a bit uncertain because Tuchel wanted to look at him in pre-season and he's not fully decided yet, even though he likes him. So I thought that was quite interesting as well. So maybe that's why the whole De Jong links came out. I'm not sure. But we got
But
shit.
again, I just don't want to give Barcelona any money. Like if
No,
I would,
yeah.
I would. Just
I
say,
do
"Please
agree with you
sign
though.
the
Like
guy," but-
in terms of Aspi and Alonso, like if we keep them just a point score, like I'll be pissed off. That's an absolute disgrace. Like we need to let them have them. Don't you know what I mean? Don't like act big and tough. Oh look, we're gonna keep Aspi and Alonso from you. Like we want them gone. Get them out, man. Like seriously. Like what's the point in keeping them? They're our Deadwood. We should be partying that they fucking want them. Don't take the piss.
One of
like,
two
you know
things:
what I mean?
either sell them or set them on fire. That's what Deadwood is for.
It's
Do you know what I mean?
ridiculous.
But, ladies and gentlemen, I've just created something for you. The worst subscribe sign you have ever seen. So now you need to subscribe. So all 622 of you just need to go subscribe now. See, I just thought if I just did a really bad subscribe sign, people will feel pity for me, and then they'd subscribe. I was just bored by someone was waffling. I'm sorry. Now being rude to my guests. Now just subscribe, okay, ladies and gentlemen. But Charlie, what do you think about the centre-back situation? Now, after what Pi said, the big problem for me is I don't even know who we can get because I don't think Gvardiol is realistic. I'm not sure how realistic Kimpembe is, but the fact that we went away from him, even though their price, their transfer, the fee they demanded was the same we bid for Kounde in the end anyway, tells me that we probably thought he wouldn't want to come or whatever. Otherwise, why would we go away from him? So that makes me think Kimpembe is not as likely. And then what? Now, Skriniar. Skriniar is the next one we need to talk about. Now, for me, Skriniar was always my last choice out of all the Italian centre-backs. When I wasn't really sure between De Ligt and Koulibaly. Now, it was kind of once we already knew that De Ligt was gone, I saw more things that I'm like, okay, maybe I prefer Koulibaly anyway, other than the age. But Skriniar was the bottom of that list. We already got the experienced centre-back now in Koulibaly. I don't need another one. I don't need another slow, Serie A defender. I say another. Koulibaly is not slow. But Skriniar is not that fast. And Inter, the next club after Barcelona, who I don't want to give any money to. So, absolutely not. So, if we say...
Hey, they might buy Lukaku, bro.
Sorry?
They might fund Lukaku, hopefully.
It's a fair shout, to be fair.
Good point.
Or we could just use the money that we still owe Inter for Lukaku and give it to them for Skriniar instead.
yeah, if that's true, then could do that.
Yeah, there you go. You can keep Lukaku, just don't send him back after his loan. Just keep Lukaku and we get Skriniar. I feel like they get the better end of that deal anyway in that situation. For them, not for us. But
yeah, it is a problem though, for sure. It is because, as you say, out of the three, Kimpembe, Gvardiol, and Skriniar, Kimpembe is probably the most realistic, but he's not that keen to come. Like he's more than happy to stay at PSG. He's part of the plan. He's a Paris lad. He's come through the academy there. He's more than happy to stay. Gvardiol, I think, is going to end up being too expensive. Plus, as you mentioned earlier, if other clubs get a sniff that Gvardiol might be available, like Pep Guardiola and Man City are big fans of Gvardiol, they'll just come in and put the money on the table, and he'll go there. There's like
well,
space
at least
in the squad.
If that happens, we can probably get Ake. So that's something.
There is that as well, but it is a concern. You're looking down the list, thinking Kimpembe, Gvardiol, Skriniar are the three kind of ones now that you would say are the next. One of those three should be the next choice, but it might not be. You might end up now looking at the future of Pau Torres has gone very quiet. He was linked as one of the big centre backs on the market this summer. Nothing's really materialising there at the moment. I have to say, I don't think he's that bad. I've seen a lot of stuff on the timeline. People don't think he's that great, but I actually think he's half decent. So, and he's got about 50, 55 million euros release clause. These guys are kind of all sort of a similar price, but for me, I'd rather get Kimpembe than Skriniar. I think Skriniar's a good defender, a good age.
Also, he's not left-sided, by the way. I just want to say
no, he's not. But we could just play Koulibaly left side.
Yeah, but I'm going on that on the basis of what Tuchel said, who is
for sure.
Maybe can play there. Just to, maybe you've read it, but maybe some of the viewers haven't. So, what Tuchel said about this situation, why he wants a left-footed and left-sided centre-back, is he's like, well, we had Rudiger there last year, who was great, but ideally we would want the left-footed one. Now, if necessary, Koulibaly can play there, I think, because he played as the left of a back four, like left centre-back of a back four. So maybe he can do it. But Tuchel wasn't even sure about that, whether Koulibaly can do that. So that just screams to me, give him what he needs. Like, I'm not saying Tuchel should be in control of everything, but if he asks for a left-sided centre-back that's left-footed, give that to him, like, for flip's sake.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
But I think
we tried with Ake, I suppose, but we backed out of that way sooner than we ever backed out of Kounde or Rafinha.
But the thing with Skriniar, I wouldn't be against it. That's expensive though. It's like 60, 65, 70 million euros. And again, we got the
28, 27.
I think he's 27, maybe. It's a fair play to me. He's one of the best defenders in Serie A. Like that. That is true. But I don't know, mate. It's a lot of money, and I don't know. Again, as we mentioned, how likely is it that Kimpembe or Skriniar actually want to come? Like, I think we've got a real problem if Tuchel cannot convince Kimpembe to come to Chelsea, having already got a personal relationship with him, having managed him in at PSG. And we've got Thiago Silva, that's a former teammate of his. We've got Kante, who's an international teammate of his, that we could, by all accounts, they might be having a word with him. Like, if we can't convince Kimpembe to join us, it's a big problem. Like, that should be one of the easiest ones to do. We should be able to convince him. And it doesn't look like we can.
It's true. It's true. I mean, it's a serious problem. Let me get to the super chat here by Ben Wheeler, who says, we need a right centre-back more with only Chalobah on the right. Now, if we sign the left centre-back, Koulibaly would be the right centre-back. That would be the idea. Other than, obviously, when Thiago Silva needs a rest, then Chalobah comes in on the right and Koulibaly moves in the middle. I assume that's probably the idea. Plus, whoever we might be signing for right wing-back, Reece James might fill some games at right centre-back. So I disagree with you there, unfortunately, Ben. Now, Pice, I was going to just tell you, give me your shout then, but now I already know what your shout is. But you've put here in the private chat, you've got a wildcard shout. So what's that wildcard shout to the people? Obviously, we know now, but what's that wildcard shout? And how, like, is he just the wildcard shout that we know about? Because I can't lie, I only know him of FIFA. And even though I've seen Frankfurt games, and sometimes I haven't exactly paid enough attention to centre backs to know whether he's any good or not.
Yeah, I mean, I watched him for Frankfurt against West Ham. Especially, he's very good. His name's Evan Ndika. He's 22, I think. Frankfurt, he's a left-footed left centre back. I think he's got a 25 or 20 million release clause. So I don't know. Maybe that could be a wildcard shout. He's very young, French.
But surely
strong.
At that point, just buy Pau Torres, right? I know it'd be double, but
no, I'd rather buy Ndika, to be honest with you. I think he's pretty good. I think he's a good prospect, but yeah, just a wildcard shout. There's no links or anything.
Yeah, there you go. I mean, some people have mentioned Max Kilman from Wolves. I feel like I remember us talking about him a few weeks ago already.
Club scouted him a few months ago, but yeah, there's been nothing really. Nothing as such, yeah.
But also, like, I mean, I'm not sure if I'm just blind to what Wolves do, but like, how much did he play last season? Like, he's 25. He's not that young. Okay, he played 30 games. But still, like, I follow Premier League rigorously enough. If a player is like a standout player, and at 25, you better be a standout player already, if you're any good. I feel like that. I don't know if that's enough. Like, do you know what I mean?
Also, Fofana is a right-footed center back and would probably cost us like 80 million for people in the chat who keep asking.
Yeah, like Fofana just only signed a contract extension, like what, in May or in June or whatever it was. So even if that would, like, if it was from a different country, he might have now a new release clause. But he's in Premier League, so it probably doesn't. So I don't really know. It's a tough one. But Clutch, now that we've heard everyone, has that helped you come to a better conclusion than you were had before?
No. I mean, if you're ideally looking for that left-footed center back, there's not too many that check off that box other than Gvardiol, Torres, and Kilman. But all of them are big risks. All of them. Especially Torres, who comes with a lot of risk, especially after we seen him in that final. Or the semi-final or whatever it was. Kilman, I don't know anything about.
How many of our players have looked bad against Liverpool? Do you know what I mean?
And we just don't need another one. We don't need a we don't need another Chalaba on the other side getting done in, especially if we're trying to get Alonso or get rid of Alonso, who randomly pockets Salah. So I don't know. I mean, I guess at this point, probably Gvardiol, probably.
I mean, I don't have a problem if we sign Kimpembe. I don't have a problem with that. Even though I'm kind of contradicting myself because I said, Skriniar is another experienced centre-back, which Kimpembe would be too, but at least he would suit that left foot, left side, which Skriniar wouldn't. So Skriniar, to me, would feel like, okay, we got Koulibaly, we wanted a left footer, but we couldn't. So now we'll just get Koulibaly and his backup option, which doesn't really make all that much sense. No, we're not forgetting about Bastoni, Yash, but it just seems so unlikely to be let go by Inter. And if they let him go, it would be such ridiculous money. We're never going to pay that.
He's already said he's staying as well. Because he was going to go to Tottenham, apparently. But he said he's staying.
Well, obviously, he's not going to go to Tottenham. But although with Conte, obviously, they probably stood a better chance than we did, arguably. Some name that someone mentioned earlier, now I forgot it again, I was thinking of it a second ago, was way earlier in the stream. I read it in the chat somewhere. What did they say? Lacroix, the French centre-back from Wolfsburg. Now, I feel like the only reason anyone's talking about Lacroix is FIFA, because somehow his base goal card, that's like, 81 rated, that's like 90 pace. I feel like that's the only reason anyone knows about Lacroix, right?
Oh, it's funny. I spoke to Premier League Panel on Twitter earlier, who watches a lot of, he's like a kind of European account, he's got good knowledge. I asked him about Lacroix because he posted him in my comments, and I was like, the season before last, he had an unbelievable season. And I said, didn't he drop off a little bit? And he said, yeah, he made more errors last season, but Wolfsburg generally were a mess. 2 different coaches, awful defensive structure. His talent is really clear. I think Chelsea should look at him. So that's the response.
But do we know what kind of price region we're talking here? When
20, 30 million, probably. Not that
no
much,
more than that.
Yeah, I think he'd be cheap. I think even when he had his good season, he was cheap. I think that's... Yeah, that was season before last.
If we buy him, I might have to get the next FIFA,
Yeah.
because that's where it's going to be best at, I reckon. But hey, I'm wrong. I mean, I've seen Nini say this on Twitter a few times now. Aman said it here. Guehi, anyone?
Oh,
well,
no,
if we didn't sell him last year, I would say yes, but we can't look like clowns like that. Do you know what I mean? So unfortunately, we bought that one. I mean, Sosa says Maxence Lacroix, hell no. I don't know if Sosa knows anything about him or not, or has watched him a lot or not. I don't know. But what I do know, ladies and gentlemen, is that we still have 570 people watching, and we haven't even hit 200 likes yet. What are you doing? Come on now. It's just one click of a button. Doesn't cost you any money or any time. So just click that like button. And if you don't have a Google account, we're here for another 10 minutes. You've got plenty of time to create a Google account. So get that done and smash the like button for me. I'd massively appreciate it. It really helps me out with spreading these videos out to more people, because that's how channels grow, how we spread it to how these people are, these videos, these streams are seen by people that don't already know us, right? That's how the YouTube algorithm works. A lot of likes, a lot of comments, a lot of people in the chat, which you're doing super well at today anyway, guys. But likes spreads the videos in the YouTube algorithm. So any like that you could drop would be massively, massively appreciated. Now, I'm not really sure what other topics there are to discuss. I mean, I guess we could talk a little bit more about this Timo Werner situation. But is there anything more to add than we spoke about already with the Gvardiol stuff, Pies? I don't think so.
No, not really. I don't think so. Pretty much the situation. You mentioned a good point earlier how Lukaku almost forced his way out. He was like, right, I'm definitely leaving.
Werner was apparently talking to the Inter manager all of the second half of the season.
Werner and Ziyech need to do that now. They need to. I know Ziyech, obviously, there's talks of AC Milan. Fabrizio said earlier,
we're not linked to any attackers. We shouldn't be letting Ziyech go before we let Werner go, in my opinion.
Yeah, well, if they're so unhappy and they want to leave, they need to push to leave. They need to get their agents involved. But Fabrizio said earlier,
Ziyech doesn't have an agent anymore. Remember?
No, he went to the Rock Sports or something, didn't he? Rock Nation or something.
Oh, did he get a new agent? I thought he used to would represent himself now.
I don't know.
Joshua Kimmich does that. He represents himself.
The thing I read was that he was using the same people as Lukaku or something. Maybe I'm wrong. But yeah, Fabrizio said earlier Chelsea want to sell Ziyech, but AC Milan want him on a loan. So I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen there. But they need to force their way out.
To buy, I don't mind.
Yeah, they need to go. If they really want to go, then just get shit done. Tuchel clearly don't want him here. They don't want to be here. So go away. You know what I mean? Make something happen.
I do agree. And H Naku, unfortunately, we're not linked to any wing-back backups. I mean, the closest thing to it was that apparent last-ditch attempt to hijack the Mukiele to PSG deal from Leipzig. He's kind of a wing-back, right centre-back, all of those things. Less so a centre-back in the back four. But that didn't really work. And otherwise, we're not linked to any. Brown, one of the ones that we should have been looking at, Leipzig signed. My only hope would theoretically be, but we seem to not be interested, is now that they've signed a new left wing back, does that make Angelino a bit more available? Potentially. But while we still sit there with Alonso and Emerson, that's happening. Do you know what I mean? And theoretically, Baba Rahman, or did his contract run out now? I don't think so. I think it runs out next year. It's just a shambles. I mean, Charlie, any last thoughts before we round this one out?
It's just frustrating and concerning as well. You know, we know how much work we've got to do, and like we don't seem to be really getting any further. We've had that initial sort of flurry with Sterling and Koulibaly, but now it's like kind of back down to reality, and we're seeing the performances on the pitch. Obviously, over the US tour, we got worse every game we played, and now we're struggling to get players in. You've got the manager throwing the players under the bus at a press conference in pre-season. We've seen this sort of stuff play out before. And it can spiral out of control quickly if you don't sort of get a grip on it. So I'm not saying we're destined for a shit season by any means, but we are not at the moment giving ourselves the best opportunity to be prepared for next season to do as well as we can, because by leaving stuff so late in the window, we're basically saying that, these guys that come in now potentially could be touch and go for the first game of the season. Like, they're going to have had no training with the team. We're not going to have any preseason games with us. So we realistically going to bring in a signing before Friday's game against Udinese? No, we're not, are we? Or even if we do, they're not going to play against Udinese. That would require us to get a deal done tomorrow or Wednesday for them to potentially fly out and play Friday. It's just not going to happen. So we're running out of time. And we've got one pre-season game left. The
only one that would maybe play first game if we find him is Ake, just because he knows the league and everything, knows the club already. Kind of, he would be the only one that if we were still to sign him now, he might be ready in time to play Everton. But otherwise, I agree.
But I don't think it's full panic, mate. But it's heading in an alarming way in terms of the fact we're missing out on targets we want. Seemingly, other targets aren't that keen to join. We're not playing well. We've got a lot of players that don't even want to be there. We can't seem to get rid of them. Like, the list of problems is mounting up. But obviously, I try to stay positive and stuff. But until we need to get a move on, this week is so important for the club, because at the end of next week, we're the season starting. So,
and like I said earlier, Tuchel's then got even less time to sort out transfer.
And then there's less time to sort that stuff out when the season's going on. This is why this should have all been sorted out as quickly as possible, because once the season starts, Tuchel's not going to want to be dealing with that.
Yeah, there you go. It's a tough one. And like Max said, would officially be Barca sloppy seconds if we took Adama as well, because I think it was Clutch that mentioned in the chat. Wouldn't be surprised if we go for Adama now. I wouldn't be surprised either, because
I think he is. According to Simon Phillips, he's a genuine target for later in the window, apparently, according to him.
Wouldn't be surprised. But at this point,
we've been linked to him for ages. We've been linked to him when he was at Middlesbrough.
Especially if we deploy this mix right wing back, right, like the Hudson-Odoi played against Charlotte in the first half, when it was this mix still. I mean, I don't like Adama. I've made this very, very clear. I think he's quick and strong, but that's it. It's basically Timo Werner. Now, he's better at dribbling, sure, but end product, zero, like even worse than Werner. Do you know what I mean? And you've got to be worse than Timo Werner. That's something special. Obviously, he plays a much deeper position on average. But even his time at Barcelona, he was good for 2 games. And after that, no one ever heard of him again. So that's not exactly ideal either. And Yash, you talk about weird players. Mate, we can't even get cinemas. Stop talking about players that cost us 150 million. Like, honestly. But I think, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to round it out here. I mean, I didn't give... No, you know what, Clutch? Do you have any last thoughts? Threw you under the bus there, didn't I?
I'm with Texas Blue. If we get Adama, I'm just going to jump off a bridge.
Yep. justifiably. Pice, I mean, I kind of talked to you about the whole Werner thing, but any other last thoughts that you want to let go of before we round this one out?
We need 2 signings this week minimum, even if they don't play. If not, we are effed. That's my final thoughts.
And unfortunately, I see it as a very unlikely scenario that we get 2
By the way,
signings.
I say that like by the Sunday. So even if they don't play against Udinese, we need minimum 2 signings. Like we need the centre back and we need
I
forward.
don't even think we'll have two new signings by the time we play Everton. But that's just me having gone extremely pessimistic. Because we got Koulibaly done in 48 hours, but everything else seems to be, no different to when we had Marina.
We're in pretty much panic mode right now. We've only really we've got this week, and then the week after that is preparations for Everton. Like we're at this point, like whoever we sign, I don't even think they play the first 2 games of the season because you don't.
The second one is against Spurs. So
against Spurs. Like you ain't maybe off the bench, but whoever especially if it's a centre back, he's probably going to trust Chalobah because he's had a pre-season at least. So people ain't thinking about that either.
Well, unless he figures out that Koulibaly can't play left centre back, then we're in real fear.
Yeah, but then
I think he can, and I back him to be able to do it. But Tuchel seems less convinced, which is strange. But hey, Ian, big up yourself, and yes, we are whack. So hopefully we can be less whack by the time I next speak to you. But that might be tomorrow, depending on news. Like I told you yesterday, it might have been today or Tuesday. Now it might have been Tuesday or Wednesday. We'll see. If something big comes out again tomorrow, we will probably sit here again and cry our eyes out about some depressing news. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to round it out here. Still 446 of you watching. Appreciate you all very, very much. Again, with my shitty little subscribe thing. Subscribe if you haven't already, ladies and gentlemen. Smash the like button. You did well, to be fair, when I had a go at you for not liking the video yet. We have hit 200 likes now. But still not 250 likes. So go down below on your way out. Before you leave the video, you might as well click that like button. Please do. I'd massively appreciate that. And also check the description for the links to my lovely friends here. Charlie's channel. Now, usually I do like the little @ in the description, but for some reason that didn't work today. It didn't show up his channel. So the link is there to his channel. So click that. And please do click the links to Charlie's. Pice's website, chelseafc365.com, and Clutch's Twitter, and Pice's Twitter as well, of course. But yeah, get that done. Smash the like button. Subscribe. But yeah. Thank you guys for watching. I said this yesterday already, but up the Chelsea and just so much upwards and onwards, we need it. Like, please, something good happen for the love of God. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. Up the Chelsea, upwards and onwards, and we'll see you next time.